But outside of this concept of what it means to cut through the mix, yeah, you have to understand.
Yeah, that's a bit subjective. And if you stop to analyze it in terms of equalization, in fact, like this in a more quote unquote graphic way, you see that the guitar is actually already in the middle region. But certain guitars are more towards the mid low, certain ones more towards the mid high, but always in that mid region there. So I think the Telecaster has exactly that range and cuts through the mix. I say this, sometimes you turn the guitar up and down in volume and it still stands out. This to me is boring the mix. It doesn't matter what volume you put, you turn it up and down and it's there, being heard. So that's my concept of cutting through the mix. Obviously, if I were to take a more technological, more electronic concept, you're going to have to explain what frequency it is. But a lot of people won't understand that. And I've never really based my decisions on that. Or I listen, if it's cool, if it's not, change it. You know, I'll use another one, adjust the pickup. I haven't found the sound, I grab it again. Even if I'm using any guitar, it's not working. I grab the Telecaster and record. And he doesn't make mistakes. Cacao doesn't have cocoa, he's right, so he's responding there. Guys, it's another controversy. For those who don't agree with Cacao, now I agree with Cacao.
Ah, it's who, huh?
Whoever doesn't agree with Cacao, now I agree with Cacao.
I agree. It's done. It's done, man. No, but I totally agree with you guys. The guys were a bit puzzled. But what does the model have to do with it? The physical aspect of the tele. So in that regard, it's not about the physical model. It's a deeper explanation.
But it ends up being you. But I think there's one more thing. People say that the model doesn't make a difference, but it does make a difference when we pick it up. It makes a difference when we pick it up. When you play a Les Paul, you feel a certain way. When you play a tele, you feel a certain way. We can't ignore the vibe of the musician when they're playing with that instrument. Got it.
But there's also the issue of the pickup positioning, right, man?
Does
From the Telecaster Pro Maestro.
this it can be good for one type of music and bad for another. But the tele is good everything. With a tele, it's hard to sound bad for anything.
And since you brought up this topic here, because here, man, we count on the support of national brands. Cacao, there's a big prejudice against national guitar brands. You have the support of Music Maker, right? Music Maker and Norton Guitars, that's right. You've always used national brands. It's been many years. With guitars that aren't national, you've also noticed a lot of changes in the market. And I'm not talking here, guys from no specific brand, but we feel, man, that there's a heavy bias against national brands. Do you agree that there has really been a paradigm shift in the last 10 years?
I agree, and I can attest to that from experience. I use luthier guitars like my guitars from Luigi, for example, who is a wonderful luthier from Niterói. Cacao, I still have those guitars today. They were already amazing back then. And back then, I had a PRS. A Tom Anderson and a Tele from Luigi. And I used them on equal footing. I didn't feel a difference because the guy is a craftsman. He knows where he wants to go. So I went through all this boutique guitar scene. And I feel that there is, a bit of a grudge. When you want to charge a higher price for a national instrument, come on. But with that, I can buy a Fender and such, depending on the quality level of the instrument. You have national guitars made by Ivan, made by Zaganin himself, that if you play and compare with a Tom Anderson or a Sir, they're just as good. You pick up a Suhr today. The other day I saw my red Suhr, which I sold a long time ago. The guy's asking, I don't know, 30,000 reais for the guitar. That's it. There are guitars that go up to 80,000.
I had the PRS that I used on my album.
Yeah, that guitar. No doubt, man. No doubt. These guitars really deliver a lot, but it's not just about the sound. There's the finish, which is the finish on your guitar that you recorded, which is something handmade by Paul Reed Smith. That's another thing.
It's their private Woodstock.
Exactly.
That's it. I like it with the woods.
Yeah, it's a different value. But about the sound, and let me tell you about the finish. I think the guitars from Zaganin, from Ivan, the Music Makers, and the Hurtons have an exquisite finish.
But you want to see, man, a cut that caused a lot of controversy. From Zaganin, there was an event with him. Did you get see it?
I didn't see it.
Then you'll see, right? And I'm the guy who keeps provoking, asking the computer questions, right? But Zaganin started to get into this, in this comparison, exactly what you said. I was holding Cacau's guitar in my lap. I said, man, a guitar like this, which one do you perhaps compare it to? He said, I compare it to one of yours that costs 20,000 reis. Man, the crowd. Cacau's guitar, I think it will be 12,000 reis. But man, that was exactly the explanation you gave.
Yeah, but people jump on it because they don't have the knowledge of the subject most of the time. It's really easy, you, back there at your computer on your phone, giving an opinion like that, and without ever having played an instrument like this. Of course, Zaganin, he is an authority, just like Ivan. He is an authority. He knows what he's talking about. I believe in him. I've already seen his work. I know who he is. I know him. A person who doesn't know, oh, this guy is just trying to sell the guitar. But man, if Zaganin is saying it, I'm sure that's it. I know Zaganin. I've played on Zaganin's guitars. I know he's a beast. I know he understands this. I've played Tajimas, and I can say they're incredible because I looked and said, man, what a guitar. Way better than the guitars that were around before. There's no problem talking about this. No, Ivan himself, he is friends with Zaganin. He's friends with T-Gaze. They even talk to each other. I've already invited Ivan to come here. He has to come. He really has to come. But, you know, I still see in my YouTube videos the other day, a guy commented, oh, why do these professional guitarists keep using these luthier guitars instead of using a regular guitar? Custom shop. Man, because it's good. It doesn't matter if it's a custom shop. I've had bad custom shops before. You know, is there any that disappointed you? Yeah, several. That's it. I had some Sons that I didn't like. I liked all the Tom Andersons, but with Paul Reed Smith, I had some that I didn't like. I had quite a few.
You really started to not like them after you got a lot of them. Without checking.
No, the first ones were amazing. I think you get a reality shock with the guitars you start using, but then you begin comparing them with other models. Sometimes the guitar doesn't have a strong identification. It's not that it's bad. It simply doesn't deliver what you're expecting. I'm very much like that. I pick up a guitar and I play it, and I can tell if it's good or not for me. And man, regardless of the value, the price. Of course, if you're going to pick up a Gibson R8, which is a super selected guitar with selected woods, probably if you know about guitars, you'll notice that there are some extra things there. But sometimes it's about the relationship between the guitar and you. There are millions of videos comparing guitars that cost $1,000, $5,000, and $15,000. And you hear the sound, it's similar. But the way you play with that guitar when you pick it up, your relationship with the instrument in your hands is something else. You can play better. And then consequently, you'll sound better. I had a Mexican Fender, vintage type, that was better than my Fender. Custom shop. It was better.
Do you have it?
No, I don't have it. It caused controversy. I never used it again. Fender Gibson, this video still causes controversy today. Right. You're just really sucking up to Ivan and you actually sold it. That's not it. Because with Ivan's guitars, I found what I really needed. I still like Fender and Gibson.
You still have it.
And I still have it, but it's not a problem. You know, I just don't need it anymore. I prefer to play with a guitar that I have a connection with, one that a guy made for me with a lot of care, just the way I asked. So this would, rather than picking up a guitar that sometimes doesn't really say much about where I want to go. No.
And also, man, you know what happens? I think there's a new reality that people haven't quite understood. Guitars are really expensive now, man. So this is new because up until 5 years ago, before the pandemic, you could buy an American Fender for under $1,000. There's no more American Fender for under $1,000.
I'm going to talk about another great friend who's been my partner for many years, and that's Norton from Sonotech.
Of course, he came here.
Man, Norton sent me a Strindberg 335, a little red one. Cacao, the guitar is amazing. I have that one there. Yeah. But powerful.
It's powerful.
The guitar is good. A shout out to Norton.
Shout out to Norton.
Actually, I have a Strindberg acoustic guitar that I still love to record with. Today I'm with Hareton, and I'm still really close with Norton. Not in a professional way anymore, but he's still a great friend. We talk all the time. In fact, he's a great partner on the band programs with The One and with Strindberg itself. that Panini, who's the other guitarist on the show, uses Strindberg acoustic guitars, the Strindberg guitars. But you know, this guitar, it's impressive because it's a 335 that costs 2,000 raise. So someone who wants, when I saw the little red one, I called him and said, "Hey, Norton, send me that one." Yeah, I tested this one.
It's beautiful, right?
And my son, this guitar is beautiful. This guitar is really cool, and it's a truly accessible instrument. No one stops starting to play just because they won't have a cool instrument.
So that's where we get to the point we've been emphasizing here. First of all, there's a new reality where people are still stuck with the old prices. Yes, and there's another thing, folks. $1,000 there, it comes here for $2,000. You're not going to take a plane, right? Yes, and go there to buy it. Are you going to do that? So, you have to accept the price that arrives in Brazil?
But I also think there's the issue of people and people. There are people who are coherent and there are people who are not. There are people who see a broader reality, and there are people who just want to live with what they believe. I think that's something that conflicts a lot, especially on the internet, because the guy who thinks he's a guitar expert is going to say a bunch of nonsense and will keep believing that it's an absolute truth. And you take a guy like Cacau Santos, who is one of the best guitarists in the country, who knows, nobody has the swing of Coco. Maybe outside Brazil, that swing of his doesn't exist. The guy uses a Tajima. Am I going to believe Cacau Santos, or am I going to believe the guy who's hiding at home thinking that...
The guy thinks the following. Let's suppose he thinks that Cacau is lying. He's been sacrificing himself for 15 years playing with a bad instrument while suffering.
He really needs that.
Suffering. The day is playing with any other guitar.
He needs that so much, right, man? So, like, man, the guy is there at every show. He's got his signature guitar. And there's this discomfort, man, because the guy is successful, he's talented, and people get bothered by that. The guy wanted to be Cacau Santos in reality, right? To talk bad, I wanted to be Cacau Santos too, but it's not out of envy, Cacau Santos.
It's because you're really good. And so we see not only the talent that he is, but the influence he has on music. His episode here was one of the most viewed episodes. All the clips, people were really commenting a lot. And he brought up a controversial topic. And he says he doesn't beat around the bush. That's really good. I like that. And I saw that he handles it very calmly.
Then I saw the part where he talks about the amplifier on stage. I saw that and I completely understand what he's saying. That's his way of having the perception and comfort he needs to play live.
And he can also choose, yes, because he has a role in the band where he is also a protagonist. And it has structure, exactly.
And more than that, I interact with various types of artists and different musicians daily. I like to try to give them the comfort they want to perform on television. Obviously, there is a limit to this. The guy can't put one on an amplifier at 10 because it will bleed into the microphones. But on the day that Charlie Brown Jr., it was, they're on the show, Marcon. I told him like this, Marcon, with 2 rectifiers, I said, turn it up a little. He said, I can't believe it. The first television show that they're asking to turn up, the Charlie Brown tribute, they were on the show. And it was an incredible thing who was singing, Marcon, right? The Egyptian. But like this, they really had a blast and played with a lot of energy under pressure. It was rock and roll, and I asked him to turn up the guitar, and he was really into it. He said, dude, are you asking me to turn up the guitar?
No, it's really cool.